Welcome to the Dungeon Cooldown. I am Jeff Cannata, and this is going to be a very, very special episode. I'm so excited. Why? Well, it's because of these lovely ladies. Oh, other direction. Over here. That are joining me for the first time. We have Heather Stewart and Leah Finkelstein, the incredible musicians behind all of the live scoring that happens on the Dungeon Run. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's so exciting to be here.
This has been a long time in coming, and I'm excited to pick your brains. I know we've got lots of questions from patrons as well, but first and foremost, for folks that haven't seen your faces and only heard the music that you add to the show every single week, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Heather, why don't you start?
Well, I'm a singer-songwriter, as is Leah, and we've been working together for, I don't know, like 10 years now, Leah?
I think so.
But we were in a musical comedy group together, and Leah has toured with me, and we've played out together. And then recently, like 2 or 3 years ago, we just sort of fell into scoring together. A friend of ours asked us to score this indie film, and we were like, oh yeah, I guess that's something we could do. And then we
figure it out later.
Yeah, say yes and figure it out later, pretty much, is how all entertainment works. And we started doing it, and we were like, wow, this is really fun, and we happen to be pretty good at it. So
Awesome.
That's sort of our story. But I don't know, Leah, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, that's I moved out here in 2009, and yeah, so we met, I think, a couple of years after that, and exactly what Heather said, we just sort of organically started working together. And you know, if you can have your job with one of your closest friends and laugh all day long while you make music, I think you've got a good job. So
living the dream. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. We have so since scoring the film, you know, obviously we did the theme song to the Dungeon Run, and you know, we're essentially the music supervisors and do the live sound cues, but we also did some other music for Caffeine, when back in the Caffeine days. And we've been doing some trailers, we've been writing for some cooking shows randomly, so you know, we've just been
Wizards of the Coast even hired you, right, to do the
they did
celebration.
Yeah, we worked with Wizards of the Coast and did some of their D&D live, which was really fun. Not as good as the Dungeon Run, obviously.
Well, I appreciate it. Lie to my face. I appreciate it. I'll take it any day. And we're going to focus on, I think, the work on the Dungeon Run, because this is what we do here on the Cooldown. But before we get into that, tell folks where they can find some of your other stuff, because I am such a huge fan of your work that is not scoring, that is not, you know, I love the songs that you both write and perform. You're incredibly talented musicians. So please tell folks how they can find all that stuff.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. For me, my own personal stuff, you can find at heather-stewart.com, STEWART.com. And then that has all my own personal songs that I've done on my own. But Leah and I have, we've rebranded recently. So we're Stewart and Finkelstein.
Love it.
So we're StewartandFinkelstein.com. And then all of our socials are at Stew and Fink.
It's
love that.
Solar.
Yeah, it's a little easier than Finkelstein.
Stew and Fink. I love that. That's
Fink.
awesome.
Right. And my personal is leahfinkelstein.com.
Amazing. Yeah, I urge everybody listening to this to check it out. You will not be disdisappointed. I promise.
Please do.
Yeah.
Follow us on all the everything. Put us on your
All
Spotify lists.
We're gonna get into it. We got a lot of really great questions. I have questions because I haven't had a chance to like ask you guys straight up certain things that I've been curious about. But I want to start with this comment on our Patreon. This comes from Bradley Potts, who is a patron, who says, "Wow, I can't wait to hear from Heather and Leah about their process and inspirations. Oh, and I guess it's nice that Jeff will be there too, or whatever."
Thank you, Bradley. Jeff too.
Thank you, Bradley. There are a lot of questions here about your process. And I think that we should kind of step through that insofar as that what you're willing to reveal. What is a day in the life of working on the dungeon run from your perspective?
Do you want to go first, Leah?
Where do we begin?
I know.
Well, there's always a sort of an idea of what might happen on the show, which often is not what happens. So we prep as much as we can, given where we think the story is going to go, and we will go on we will look for tracks on a music library that sort of, if we think there's going to be a battle, we'll find some battle music that, now they're in Turles, right? So that sort of fits the Turles vibe, or when we were back in Olsvach, that fit more of that vibe. So we sort of gather as much as we can that we think is going to happen ahead of time. And then we know that we often need, when Uggo was in Thor, and he was in Thorn, and he was becoming the leader of the orcs, so we had to get that kind of vibe, and we was always pretty emotional, so we
tribal
and also emotional, because there was some heavy stuff going on. So, but also the cast often gets very silly and very funny, so we have to make sure we have that on hand. So we sort of gather as much as we can and sort of organize it on a spreadsheet, really. And then we download all of these tracks into this very 1990s box.
It's called Instant Replay 2.
But it just works. It just works. It's just perfect for what we need it for. What does it hold? 500 songs? No.
500 songs.
500. And so what we'll do is we'll get it all prepped, and we have it, kind of mapped out as much as we can. And Heather and I are on a Zoom while the show is going on. And I've got my laptop scrolling through and previewing all the songs. And Heather is at her location with the bots. And I'm like, it's bank 324, hit bank. Oh no, they're being sentimental. It's hit the other one, hit the other one. So we're frantic for 3.5 hours.
I do want to add, Jeff, when we first started at Caffeine, we were using a different library, and we had 6 songs. And even then, something would happen, and the first 6 or 7 episodes, you would do something and it would go sentimental, or it would go silly, or it would go to a battle, and we're like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we knew ahead of time what's going to happen? And I said something to Alex, and I go, do you think Jeff could let us know what he thinks is going to happen so we can be prepared with music? So it wasn't until episode 7 or 8, Jeff, I think, that we finally, so the little secret in the sauce is that Jeff sends us on Tuesday, hopefully.
I have been pretty good lately.
He'll send us what he thinks is going to happen in the show, and then Leah and I will get together and we go to our music library, and we're like, okay, so it's going to get sentimental here, or and Jeff, to your credit, you are really, really good at giving us the ideas of what type of music or genre of music you think would fit. And so we'll go and find that, and we get 5 different tracks, and then again we sit for 4 hours like this, wondering what's going to happen.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
you and me both.
And it's really I know, but it is really funny too, because you guys go so in and out of sentimental to silly to action, and it does get to that point where we question each other, do we change it here, or do we keep it? Are they going to stay silly, or is it just a silly moment? So,
and then sometimes we'll make a choice, and we're like, "Ooh, this didn't
that was
fit
bad
at all." We're just back out of the room.
It's like this: turn it down, turn it down, turn it down.
Well, one of the reasons that I think it's great that you guys are on this week in particular is because I thought that last week was one of the best scored episodes you've ever done. I just was doing backflips when I heard it. I mean, I think most people watching this, most of our patrons know that me and the cast don't hear the music as it's happening. So it's always a surprise to us when we watch the show back, or, you know, see the video on demand or whatever, how you added to it. And it's often my favorite part of watching an episode is hearing how the music accentuates all the stuff that we're doing and fills it out and makes the boring parts less boring, all that stuff. But I found this, I think this week, I mean, you guys have knocked it out of the park consistently, but this week was like another level of just, I said to the cast, like I couldn't have done it better in post. And you guys were doing it live on the fly as it was happening. Like I would have made those exact choices. And I mean, there's the scene with Persta and everything. It's like beautifully scored. So kudos on that.
Oh, wow. I wish I'd known what we did.
We have to rewatch it.
It's incredible. Well, I mean, I think that's my question is, you know, there's a moment, you know, this last week, I'll just use this last week as our recurring example because it's, you know, what we're here to talk about and it's fresh in everybody's mind. There's an example of you know, we're in the jail and everything's heavy and Persta's talking, and then the demons arrive and Lily decides she's gonna sing a song to the demon, and you guys like dynamically like take the music out and give Lily space to have her song, and then it comes back in, and it all just feels so perfect and so finely tuned. Tell me about the challenge of sort of reacting in real time. I mean, you guys were kind of talking about it a little bit, but maybe go further.
Yeah, I think especially just speaking to the Lily stuff, like we've talked, Leah and I have talked about this before, like when she sings, do we keep the music that's playing like a little bit lower, or do we just take it fully out? And it seems it's been best to just take it fully out so you can just hear her melody and her lyrics, and they're always so clever and so good.
Well, same thing when Siv reads a poem.
Yeah,
Do the same thing because we want to give that its own space, and sometimes there's also value in giving it a little silence. You know, I mean, that's part of a score too. Is this you want the audience to kind of lean in a little bit, and sometimes silence helps to do that.
Such a great point.
It really, it silences the other song we have, you know. It's like the other song where you're like, maybe this is the moment where they just need to talk to each other and it doesn't have to have, you know, anything underneath it. But especially with Lily, and especially that particular moment, I remember that actually when she was in the jail and we were like, let's take it down. She's going to do her song. And as soon as she's done, we'll just put back up what we were playing. And
it was great.
There.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was, it worked so well. And the music that you chose, I mean, the way that it built that tension that I was trying to create inside the jail, it was so great. Do you have, you know, I'm so curious because like you mentioned, I read up a little blurb and I say, well, this is what I think is going to happen. It's almost always wrong about what's going to happen. Almost always. But I wonder how many choices do you have for each moment? And how do you know in the context of the moment, which one of those to go with?
Well, it's a lot of guessing. It's a lot of guessing. I mean, it's really, you know, how many, we probably download about a half a dozen songs a week.
Or maybe more.
Yeah. But we'll recycle some old ones because, you know, we have like a whole list of battle, right? But there is, within that, there is battle suspense. There's battle that sounds industrial, which works better in the jail, or any kind of, you know, well, we vibe it out. And then there's the battle orchestral that worked better outside in Turles because I just sort of, there's like an abbey there, you know. So, and then there's a lighter battle. There's, you know, there are different sort of levels of battle. And so we sort of have organized it as much as we can. I don't know if that's answering it well.
No, that's awesome. I mean,
I'll tell you, I don't know if I should show.
Are you going to show the bottom? Are you going to show the thing? Oh, there you go.
This is what Jeff sends us, and these are the.
Oh, don't screenshot that. They'll know everything.
But we'll write down for each moment that you sent us, Jeff, we'll write down 5 songs that we think will fit that.
Yeah.
So I'm
sometimes
sorry
we're wrong.
if someone screenshots it, I'm sorry.
We'll blur it out in post.
We'll blur it out in post. We'll blur it out in post. But we do write down, like, we'll write down 5 songs for each moment that we think these 5 songs will fit. And then we go, well, when it gets to that moment, if those don't fit, then we consult, and we have everything labeled. Like, if you look under our suspense, we have suspense lighthearted, suspense fun, suspense creepy, suspense, like it's all. And then we have a background music, background suspense, background creepy,
So awesome.
background funny, background neutral. And in fact, Leah, I'm gonna give you some kudos, because sometimes you guys, we just need like a really neutral underscore that just kind of goes like this. It's just, it's not funny, it's not dramatic, it's a little suspenseful. And Leah's like, I'm tired of looking around for stuff. So she just banged out this neutral underscore on the piano, and we've been playing it all.
That's fantastic. Wow. Yeah. Original scoring. Amazing.
Yay.
Yeah. And
I was looking, I couldn't find what I wanted. And I was just like, I know I heard in my head what I wanted to hear. And I was like, well, this doesn't exist, so I'm gonna have to make it myself.
That's incredible. I love that. I can't believe
we play it all the time. So we play it all the time now.
That's great.
We called it neutral underscore.
We're about to come up to episode 100. We're just a couple of weeks away at this point from episode 100. And you guys have been with us since the beginning. What do you think you've learned, or what has changed, or what is the most different from where you started to where you are now?
Well, like Heather said, we started with 6 songs and an iPad.
Yeah.
And like Heather said, one of the first things we learned was any kind of prep ahead of time from Jeff was instrumental. And I, getting that box and having, figuring out steps along the way to get more organized, like having the genres and the subgenres, and having it in a full, Excel spreadsheet that, that links to the cues in the box. And also learning to sort of take, and this was actually a suggestion that you had, Jeff. It was probably around the time that you started giving us a heads up. You came up to us and you said, feel free to just take some chances. Just take chances. Yeah. And because I think we were trying to be really safe for like the first couple of months, because we didn't want to,
forgot about that, Leah. Yeah.
And you were like, it's just go for it. And so we started getting a little fun with it. And so that sort of gave us which I really appreciated, sort of gave us the license to sort of step outside and play some.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you from my perspective, I think we all started really feeling like, well, we got to be, it's a fantasy show, so it's got to be a little, fantasy music, and there's only a few things you can do. And when I started hearing what you guys were doing, a light went on in my head. I'm like, we have this opportunity to really add a lot with that stuff. And I think kind of taking the chains off of both of you and saying, it doesn't have to be period music. It can have contemporary vibe. It can feel different in different places. It has just made all of that blossom in such a cool way. I know I'm gushing, but I truly I feel so blessed that we have you guys on the show. And I think the show is infinitely better because of what you bring to it. I'm so grateful for it, truly.
Oh my gosh, Jeff, thank you.
Yeah.
I will say you did really, when we did first start, I remember being really nervous that the music would be distracting. Yeah. So we were really, really safe, because I was like, well, I want the characters to shine. I want them to, I don't want people to be like, why are they playing that fucking horrible music? Oh, sorry, I cursed. Playing that terrible music. But then Jeff, you did say, just go with your gut and go with your instinct and get crazy. And it just like broke open the whole thing for Leah and I. And we were like, okay, cool. Now we can make it funny. Now we can make it dangerous. We have all genres to work with. And
I think one of the first times was the flock music when we just all of a sudden threw in some metal and we were like, oh,
that was the best.
Oh
It was the
God. And
coolest.
when you got up on the thing and did it, and the flocks were coming in and we were like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I remember early on too, talking to Alex in our meeting, and I'm saying to Alex, like, I really appreciate you keeping the mix low, but let's pump up the music because I want to hear it. Like, it's so great. I want to hear. I mean, I understood it was like respectful and like not wanting to trounce on the game, but I was like,
yeah,
we can hear more of that music. Let's get that mix going. So yeah, I mean, I've loved it. We've got a lot of questions here. I've been completely monopolizing the time with my own questions, but here's a bunch of questions from patrons, including Drew Bonner Music. I assume Drew Bonner is a musician as well. Drew asks, did you study music?
Yes.
no.
Yes
So
and no. There you go.
Right. So I actually did. I grew up, my mother was a jazz singer. So I grew up surrounded by jazz musicians, which was great. And so I studied, I started playing the piano when I was like 5, and it was more sort of classically oriented, which is not what I wanted. And so my mother's piano player, who was an arranger as well, was an amazing jazz piano player, did not usually work with children. But I was about 14 years old, right? Because he saw what 5 and 7-year-olds do.
Smart man.
So I was about 13 or 14. So he made an exception. And the reason why is because he would have a pint glass of Jack Daniels and water and smoke cigarettes. And he'd be like, let me tell you about the circle of fifths and tritone subs. And I was like, oh my God. And I've loved him. And so I studied jazz all through that time through high school. And then I went to college outside of Boston, Wheaton College, and was a music major there. And after
she was a Wheaton whim.
I was in the a cappella group, of course, as you do, New England liberal arts colleges. And after school, I have been playing in bands forever. And so, yeah. That's my academic world.
I was a pre-law major in college. I thought about being a constitutional lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah, but then decided no. So I always wanted to act and sing, and I eventually ended up moving to LA, and I was singing in different bands with different people. And I met with this producer, and he was like, the only way that you're going to stand apart from other people is if you write your own songs. And I was like, oh. So I, in my mid-20s, got a crappy guitar and took guitar lessons and started writing 3-chord country songs.
That's awesome.
And just, and then, the best thing you can do as a musician is play with people who are better than you. So I just found people who were way more talented than I am to help me learn and grow and become a better musician.
That's wonderful. Fectious has a question. The variety of instruments that you use in the instrumentation and the music that is in the show, how many different musical instruments do you each play in total?
Piano. I play guitar. We had to write for an Italian cooking show, so I had to learn mandolin real quick. I played the tin whistle yesterday when we were recording for something.
I swear to God, Leah's like, well, I don't really know how to do it. And I was like, how do you know how to do that?
I don't know. I went through a little phase with the tin whistle. Anyway,
who doesn't go through a tin whistle?
We can all remember our tin whistle phase.
We are the old tin whistle phase.
I play a little bass. I can play a little drums. Yeah.
And then we did a cover of a song called Wayfaring Stranger, and it needed some slide guitar. And, I play guitar and that's it. And I'm not even that, I'm okay. Like, I'm an okay guitarist, just enough to write songs. But she's like, I think I can do it. This.
I am so jealous of people like that.
Yeah, me too, Jeff.
I play a little guitar. I'm awful, and I struggle constantly. And then there's people like this with the gift. I'm so jealous. Let's see what else we got here.
I feel like you should play a little tin whistle.
I should play a little tin whistle. That's what I should. Oh no! Leah should play a little tin whistle. Do you have one with you right now?
You know what?
Of course she does.
Oh yes.
I do. It was so funny.
Oh, we definitely need a tin whistle solo. Look at this. All right.
Oh, goodness.
She's a bard. Look.
Right? No, I'm not going to be able to play it because I'm laughing. You can't laugh and play the tin whistle.
I know.
All right, everybody be serious. Be serious.
Right.
Delightful ditty. That was wonderful. Amazing. The one thing that you're not getting, listeners, if you have not checked out their websites, which you absolutely should, is how incredible vocally they are. Both of these women are just sensational vocalists. That's another skill that I'm jealous of. You both have beautiful voices.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to say we're doing a creepy children's trailer. That's why we were playing the tin whistle.
No, all that it's just tin whistle albums as far as you can see. Go to their websites. Tin whistle albums as far as you can see. That's all it is.
It's Tin Whistle Alley.
Okay, so let's see what else we got here. We kind of just organically went over a lot of these. Does Jeff give you hints as to the themes you'll be needed? Yes. At times it seems your job is harder than a piano player at a silent movie, says Ojito17.
I will say there was one thing I wanted to say before is that when we first started, I was so scared of playing the wrong music at the wrong time that, again, like, we never ever wanted to be a distraction. That was always a big worry of mine, is to be distracting. And so, but over the episodes, we found that there were these sort of happy mistakes that would happen, that you would play, because sometimes happy music when someone is sad works really well. If you play the opposite, and I kept wanting to follow and make it perfect, and yet we would make a mistake and we'd be like, well, that actually is working right now for whatever reason. And there's like, there are times when we play something and then it gets sentimental or someone's dying. And we're like, okay, well, maybe we take the happy music.
Maybe the clown music is inappropriate.
maybe not the tin whistle. But for the most part, I think we got more confident in sort of trusting our instincts and trusting it, letting a mistake happen, because many times that mistake would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
You guys always say this is the best community on the internet, right? So it is so fantastic and helpful when we're because we have Twitch on at the same time. And we're seeing everyone's comments and the balloons with the musical notes. It was so pretty. So we see guys, and then when people, will give us compliments or like, oh, okay, well, they're liking this. So it's actually really helpful. And it's such a great community of watchers, and they're so supportive of us. And they sometimes often help dictate the choices that we make. If they're liking it, then we'll kind of lean into it a little bit. So
yeah, because oftentimes we'll be looking and we're like, I don't know if this works. Is this terrible? I don't know. And then someone will pop up. They'll be like, the music. And we're like, oh, thank God. Honestly, they help. The fans help kind of dictate, because we look for them to sort of, confirm what we think is right.
That's great.
There are a lot of people in the chat who are obviously very knowledgeable about music. We occasionally use Holst, which is in Holst. If you haven't ever had a chance to listen to The Planets, which was composed about 100 years ago, he's sort of, it's like Holst and Stravinsky. If you're going to learn to score, you have to listen to Holst. It was like he was scoring a film before films existed. It's such great pieces. And so we use Neptune and Mars. We used Mars last week. And a bunch of people were like, oh, they're playing Holst. And I was like, well done. Recognizing the Holst. So it was cool.
They're smart.
Contrast that with me and how sick are you of me referencing Carl Orff? You know, all I see is maybe the Carmina Burana here again.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But Jeff, it does work.
It's the only music I know. It's
so good. No, but see, but even you doing something specific like that, then we know kind of what you're thinking, and you're like, okay, got it. Yeah. Morgan said there's oh, sorry, am I not supposed to say that Morgan is here looking at
No,
chat?
you can say. Yeah, you can say it.
That there's been some questions in chat about favorite characters to score for and favorite moments or parts of the story.
Okay. Yeah.
There's so many. I'm going to start because I have when we did, not to throw, other sort of live D&D things under the bus, but when we've live scored for other shows, it's just a lot lighter. Their characters aren't, fully developed, and we haven't been on this long ride with them. And Jeff, you craft such an awesome, beautiful, incredible story and the characters to go along with it. So it like elevates what we do because we can set music to what you guys are doing. When we do it for other D&D stuff, it's just a lot of light fare. It's supposed to be fun. It's a one-off. So the music adds, but it's not as intense or as meaningful as it is for the dungeon run. And I would say some of my, just the sentimental stuff when two characters get sentimental and we pick a certain track that fits that, those are my absolute favorite moments.
Yeah. There were, I'll let you go, Leah, but I just want to mention real quick, it's amazing to me how often it's like, playing Dark Side of the Moon and watching Wizard of Oz, it's like how often things will just sync up in this beautiful way that neither of us could have anticipated. There was a couple of times this last week where like, just whatever the song was that you picked had a moment where it sort of dropped out and then came back, and it was right at the part where like I said something that had a dramatic pause, and it's like these incredible just serendipities that happen are magic.
It's funny you say that, Jeff. We talk about that all the time because we find the tracks that have a lot of movement are way better because they end up sort of magically. And I think this is a testament to you and the actors. They magically follow your, act 1, act 2, act 3 in what you're saying and what you're doing. And I think that's a testament to you guys too, that the music, and we want to pick music that's not as neutral because then it follows what you're doing. And there are many times where Leah and I are like, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, no, it was just like, well, that's not
fit perfectly, and it was totally by accident.
But I think that's such a great takeaway, is like not picking stuff that's neutral. Creates the opportunities for those things to happen because the music is saying something, and we're saying, and we're acting something, and when those things link up, it just makes the whole thing soar.
There are moments when those things happen, Leah and I are like, we're really good.
That's what I'm thinking too. Later on when I'm listening to
it.
And
then 3 minutes later, we're like, oh, that was wrong.
Oh, wait, we're not that good. Shoot.
All right, Leah, do you have an answer for like a favorite moment or favorite characters to score to?
Well, I think I remember I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember the first time that you guys made me cry, and I was like, well, I just cried in Dungeons and Dragons. What just happened? And the music was really fitting with it, and it was this really beautiful moment. And it was early on.
Was it Civ?
It might have been Civ.
It was Civ and Lily. Was it Enchanted Lake?
I think it was. That's one of the tracks.
That's one of the tracks.
I like you guys remember it by music
and I remember
track.
being like, and I was just like, oh, I'm just kiss me. So, I don't remember specifically what it was, but I remember that. As far as scoring for the specific characters, there's, obviously what we do live, and there isn't one character that we enjoy scoring over the other. But when we wrote for each of the characters, again, I can't pick one that I enjoyed more than the other. I would say that writing everyone's themes and composing those was so fun. And it really spoke to how the layers of each character. And we wanted to make sure when we wrote those theme songs that we touched on those layers, because Ugo is, an orc, and he's a warrior, but he's also super sweet and sometimes
sensitive.
So we wanted to incorporate that into his songs,
Yeah.
We did that with everybody. And, and
That
also,
was, yeah.
James was one of my, I love doing them all, but, James being, a librarian and a thinker, but he's also got this very dark underbelly as well. Anyway, but he's got loyalty. Anyway, we really delving into those character themes was really rewarding and a lot.
It was also a fun exercise to do for us, just because we had to write down, excuse me, each character's everything about them, and then pick music that we thought followed exactly who they are.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
it was
Jeff.
extraordinary. No, I was just going to reiterate that. It's extraordinary hearing it. I think we definitely need to feature it on the show again. So I think for the 100th episode would be a perfect time to revisit, play those again. Chaotic Brain here in the chat asked if there are character themes, and it makes me sad that they weren't aware that these exist, and they are. I mean, it's amazing how you guys captured all the different sides of these characters in a single track. It's incredible. And they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pieces of music. And you wrote the opening theme of the dungeon run as well, which I think you did before we ever started, right? That was
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'll tell you, one of my favorite moments was I was driving in my car to the theater. This was early on when we were still, doing the show in the studio. And I was driving there, listening to the podcast version of the previous week, like kind of getting in the mood, like reminding myself what had just happened. And I was listening to your theme as the opening, and that flute comes in, and we were like headed to Bingle. And I kind of had an idea in my head of what we were going to do in Bingle, and we were going to have this big battle. And I knew it was going to be Lily's family rallying around that and defending the thing. And I heard that song and I went, this is the battle hymn of Bingle. Like, it starts with that flute and it's perfect. And I came to you guys and I said, can we get like a stripped down, as if they're playing it in the moment there version? And you guys were so awesome to do that. But I remember driving in my car and hearing it and imagining where we were going in the story. And I started crying in the car. Like, it just was so perfect. It was like, another one of these serendipities where you guys had written this thing with a flute that starts it, that crescendos, and it just felt like all of the townspeople of Bingle coming and fighting to save their city. It was perfect.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like, start.
All right. I mean, I know that I'm just fanboying out, but I really do think that what you guys do is so great, and it adds so much to our show, and I'm so grateful for it. And I don't get an opportunity to tell you enough, so here I am doing that. Here's some other questions that we have. Process and inspirations we kind of went through already. Here's Dr. Sparks says, Heather and Leah, you've done such great work with the music of Ein. Are you both watching live every episode to cue the music? Do you trade off from one week to another? And have you ever thought about taking one of Lily's songs and doing a full-blown version of it? I would judge by that facial expression. No, you have not thought of that.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think we did once. We had mentioned that once, and then we got distracted and didn't revisit that conversation. And
Yeah, no, we should. That's something
we should. I think it was like the Split the Party song.
That's a good
Yeah.
one to do.
We should do a remix of one of her tunes.
Yeah, we're overdue for another remix.
Yeah, we are overdue for another remix.
We have gotten, by the way, so many people saying, "Why did you take the remix off of the end of the show? It's one of my favorite parts."
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite parts too.
Yeah, well, it all has to do with us rating other people from Twitch. We were rating other people's things, so we didn't have the full credit sequence. But I think it needs to be rectified because that song is awesome and people love it.
What was the first part of that? Before the
do you watch the whole 4 hours or do you like switch off responsibilities, or how does that work?
No, we I've got Twitch going the whole time. So I'm sitting here in this very room that you're seeing me in, and I've got one screen on Twitch. I've got one screen with Zooming with Heather, and I've got my laptop on, and I'm looking at some of the songs, and I've got my headphones on, and Heather's at her house because she's got a better internet situation than I do, and so it's just it's better that it's piped. The music's piped out of Heather's house because it's just there's less of
more reliable.
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. So, and we just sort of stay in that. Although occasionally I will go to Heather's house, and we'll just be in the same room while we do it.
Leah oftentimes will be on the Twitch stream so we can hear levels, because the Twitch stream, oftentimes the levels are different than the stream we're getting from the group, from Sean, and the levels are just different, harder for me. Yeah. So I'll say, how does it, to Leah, I'm like, how does it sound on Twitch? How does it sound? How are the levels on Twitch? And we both have our laptops out, both watching the Twitch stream, because I keep it open to see the comments as well. Yeah. And and then I have my laptop to preview songs, because we're like, okay, well, what, they're going to be coming up to, the flower field or whatever. And we're like, okay, well, let's listen to these songs. Does this work? And then we choose the song, and then we, it's just like 4 hours of stress.
You and me both. Yeah.
Jeff, oh my God. Jeff, it's my favorite is when they just do something totally different. And we have like the rundown of what they were supposed to do. And I was like, oh, Jeff, I'm sorry. You
have a unique experience in watching the show that very few people get.
And I was like, wow, they did nothing of what Jeff said they were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Some weeks I'll write them on Tuesday, and I'm just like, well, no idea what they're doing this week.
My favorite is like, we'll have something on the sheet and we've got like 7 songs prepped for it. And then it'll be like 4 episodes later, they finally.
Totally.
Yeah, no,
Jeff will be like, maybe this week they'll get to Olsfotch. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a recurring theme with my notes too, is that I wrote this to you 3 weeks ago and every week since, but maybe this time they see that.
You might make it to Turles. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, we just keep our notes, and I was like, well, those songs will come in at some point.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. Pre-prep. Here's something interesting. Fenderil, in our patron, said, would you please consider an album of all the music, of the original music you've done, possibly paired with Civ's poems or Lily's songs? I would buy at least 4 copies.
Oh.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh gosh, you know what? Actually, putting Civ's poems and then Lily's songs, like that's such an interesting idea.
It is.
They're so, I mean, again, like speaking to you, Jeff, as the DM and the actors in this show, it's every week Leah and I are like stunned and amazed. Just watching you guys is a pleasure, but also we're just so honored to be a part of something that's so smart and so well done. And the acting is, all of you are just so good and so believable. And I'm so connected to all of your characters. And
Awesome.
Jeff, you do stuff that Leah and I are like, how does he even, how? I don't know.
To a whole other being that was not planned, and now just created this whole other character that I was like, who is that?
And just when they make you go like a different way and you're like, all right, I guess I guess this is what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, like I said, you guys have the unique experience of like, oh, this isn't in any of the notes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah.
There was one, what was it was a couple months ago when Fahima saved everybody by like turning, what did she
No,
do?
she jumped into the belly and fucking
She jumped into the belly.
exploded. Sorry.
So I remember coming out of the thing and talking to my husband and be like, oh my God, Fahima just like went into the belly of the beast and exploded and saved everybody's life. And I was like, what? Like if someone was to overhear the conversation I just had, they'd be like, what? What?
That's amazing. I love it. I that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, is if the sort of working on it and in the stress of the moment, if you're actually able to kind of enjoy the story at all, or it sounds like you are.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
we were just,
Sometimes,
yeah, go ahead.
you know, there's a lot of time where we're sort of fretting, looking for the right tracks and or having a conversation about what about this and they're like, wait, we just missed the wait. Are they still in the battle?
Yeah.
They're still fighting. Okay, great.
Right.
So, you know, so sometimes we miss things.
Yeah.
And, you know, and sometimes battles will last for like an hour and a half, you know, so, you know, sometimes you miss a piece. But for the most part, we're able to track, you know, the storyline. And then there are those epic moments that really stick with you, like when Fahima did that crazy thing.
Yeah, what did she go into the stomach of? What was it? I forget.
Aboleth. Yeah.
Aboleth,
The big
that's right.
tentacly mind messing beast. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
They're raging.
I will say, you know, to be really honest, I miss a lot of the story sometimes because I'm like putting things down and getting to the next bank to find the next song. And so
Right.
I do, you know, there are times when the show ends and I'm like, I have no idea what happened this season. I have no idea what happened on the show, but I hope it went well.
Right. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, just because we're talking to each other, listening to music, looking at chat, listening to you guys do your thing, and then trying to make it all time out right. So there's times that my brain will miss, you know, a conversation that you guys have had or something that happened.
Yeah.
But the big stuff like that, we obviously are able to track things like that. So
here's a question from Kaz Farron. Did you two have any interest or experience with D&D before the dungeon run? And how has the show impacted you in that respect?
None at all. None. I like never even saw, when it first was presented to us, I was like, I don't, well, you know, as we say, with everything sort of in entertainment, you say yes and you figure it out later. So like the only, to get a sense, I looked at Critical Role and I was like, oh, I think they're just making it up. I guess I could go. And then, so I didn't. And then I will say, as far as the impact, you know, we started obviously watching from day one and providing the music and learning and seeing how it's done. And I think with any art form, you know, if you're unfamiliar with it and you know, but I'm not a big, I don't know a whole lot about opera, but if you hear Pavarotti sing, you're like, that is a great opera singer. So I didn't know a lot about D&D, but I was like, oh, these are some master storytellers and some fabulous actors. So I knew inherently that this was real quality. And then I just got super into the story.
I do call myself the Pavarotti of D&D.
As you should.
As you should, Jeff. You should. Yeah, I had no D&D experience at all, like zero. I mean, my husband obviously is Alex, so he played with you, Jeff. And I mean, I knew like bits about it, but nothing at all. And, and then, but then as we were, watching the show, we'll say things to each other and we'll be like, I can't believe I just said that. He's a paladin? Like, what does that mean?
So many times that I've Googled what is a paladin.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many times Leah and I are like, what is, we have no idea.
That's
what
amazing.
it is. Yeah.
Aboleth. What?
Aboleth. Oh, it's a thing.
That's what it is. But I will also say, and Heather kind of touched on it before, what I also have learned is that I've seen other D&D games played since, and I don't, everyone's lovely. I think that the dungeon run is just particularly special. And I think I'm now fully invested in the story and the depth of the characters in a way that I did not expect.
That's awesome.
I would say, Jeff, master storytelling is master storytelling, whatever genre you're in. So your storytelling is like next level. So it could have been in like the Smurfs and it would have been amazing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. It just happens to be set in the world of D&D, but your storytelling is just amazing. So
thank you.
For sort of like the Salvage Manders, right? Can we see Salvage Manders again? That's what I want. The best.
The best.
I think I definitely think that something light like the Salvage Manders is maybe needed right now. I think it's been very dark for quite a while.
It's a little dark, but that's what like elevates your storytelling. Like I just feel like the show has so much more depth than the other D&D live things I've seen. And I know I'm biased because I work on the show, but I do think that because you're able to take this story for so long, it's not a one-off. We've been doing this for almost 100 episodes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, honestly, it's a beautiful story, and how this isn't like the most famous D&D show on the planet, I don't know.
I don't either. Everybody listening to our voices knows, but I'm
serious. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how this is not like, I mean, I watch others and I'm like, they're fine, but they don't have any music. They don't have the characters. They don't have anything.
No, I remember when we had to leave Caffeine and we set out on our own, and we were figuring out what we were going to do. We were all talked and we said, big priority is to get Heather and Leah to come with us. And I know that you guys have, are working at a rate that you deserve way more than what you get to working on this show. But so grateful to have you every week. And I do think the show it's incalculable how much better every single moment is. Like, I mean, I talked about you guys having a unique perspective on watching the show because you have the notes of what is expected. I have a unique, and the cast and I have a unique perspective because we're the only viewers of the show that get to watch it two ways, one way without music and one way with music. And so I think it is very obvious to us how big an impact the music has on the story, because we live it, one way without it, and then we get to go, oh my God, this is what the audience was hearing the whole time. It's great. So
I will say it's very funny when people ask, like, well, what do you do on the dungeon? Like, what do you do? And it's hard to explain. Like, we're live music supervisors, I guess. Or like, I don't really know. I don't know of anybody else who sort of does what we're doing. Like it's a very unique. It's a niche that, like, I don't know. It's so strange, and I love it.
Does not understand it still.
You're what?
My dad does not get it at
all.
all.
Well,
he
I mean,
tried
you've just
to watch it once and he goes, "What is it? A panel discussion?"
I love that.
My
I mean-
mom always asks, and I'm like, "You're not gonna like it." Not really. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not. You're not gonna like it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said to my mom too.
Yeah,
you know,
I was
I've had
like, she's more into the Hallmark Channel. You know what I
yeah, I appreciate the support, Mom,
mean? Yeah, but
but you don't need to
No.
spend 4 hours trying to be supportive. I
try
appreciate
to be
it.
supportive. It's okay.
Anyway, but speaking of support, we are grateful to all of you who are watching this because you are our patrons. You support this show. You make the Dungeon Run possible. You make it possible for us to have Heather and Leah be a part of this process. And for that, all of us in the Dungeon Run family are grateful to you for supporting the show at patreon.com/the Dungeon Run. It's been so much fun finally getting to kind of chat with you guys. Again, last week was fantastic, and I'm so excited to keep rolling toward episode 100. So thank
Woo!
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
so much.
I do want to mention too, best fans on the internet.
I agree.
100%.
I agree. You know, they I wish I could say it was our idea, but they were the ones who said we need to have the music note balloons. We need to have them. And we thought, oh my God, why didn't we think of that? But that was from the audience. They said, please, we want to show our appreciation to them. So it came from them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you got that's
Thank
so
you,
si-
guys.
when those came up, we were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
It's-
asked for them. So we were like, oh yeah, we should have thought of that. Duh. But yeah.
No,
Well,
it
it's
makes
awesome.
us honestly their support just on like seeing all of their comments each week is just it's so inspiring and it's so fun and interacting with everybody and everybody's just lovely. Honestly, it's like it kind of renews my faith in humanity.
That's nice.
Yeah.
There's
Same.
a lot of bad things happening and this community makes me go like, oh right, people are
We'll be
good.
all right. We'll be all right.
We're gonna
So
be all
thank you,
right. These
guys.
people exist. We're gonna be all right.
Well, I can't think of a better stopping point than that sentiment. Thank you both for being here. Thank all of you for being here with us. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, humankind.
Be
Be
both.
both.